Canadians continue to receive education regarding the dangers of impaired driving, but yet the problem hasn't been solved just yet. Joining me today to discuss this is Elizabeth Isfeld. She is the chapter secretary of the Lethbridge and area branch of Mothers Against Drunk Driving, also known as MADD. Elizabeth, it's great to have you with us.
Thank you so much for inviting me. It's a pleasure to be here today.
Now, for those that don't know what MADD is, can you just first of all explain what the focus of your organization is and what kinds of services you offer here in Southern Alberta?
We have been here for about 8 years. And first and foremost, we focus on supporting victims and survivors of this horrific crime. We do this through court programs, online support programs, and volunteer victims conferences.
Now, if we have never personally been victims of impaired driving, it can be difficult to fully understand the impact something like this can have on an individual and also the lives of their family. Can you share a bit about that? Because I understand that you have some personal experience with this.
I do. A few years ago, I tried to stop an impaired driver from getting behind the wheel. She put the car in reverse and knocked me down, causing some serious injuries.
Wow.
Yeah, and I thankfully have recovered from some of the injuries, not all, but the trauma of that day will live on in my mind for the rest of my life.
Let's talk more about that trauma, because this is something that you're going to have to live with for the rest of your life. Let's hear more about that.
Going through this court system and the court process is extremely overwhelming, confusing, and scary. And without MADD Lethbridge and area, it would have been 10 times worse. And the support is ongoing, even though my court cases are all done, and I have met such wonderful people, and that they have different stories other than mine, but we all share a strong bond.
Do you have any stats that you can share with us? Like how many people are killed or injured in Canada annually from impaired drivers?
Every year, hundreds are killed and thousands are injured every year. An alarming stat, every hour in Canada, an average of 9 federal criminal charges and provincial short-term license suspensions are laid for alcohol or drug impaired driving.
Wow.
Yeah, it's pretty scary.
Absolutely. And surveys also reveal that young males continue to have higher than average rates of driving after consuming alcohol, cannabis, or other drugs. What is it about the male lifestyle that causes this, and what needs to happen to change this?
Again, this comes back to education. By continuing to share our stories, not only in schools, but to the public, we hopefully will save a life. And today we have so many options for a safe ride home, from taxis, designated drivers, Ubers, or stay where you are if possible. Before heading out, make a plan. Set a few dollars aside for a taxi. Organize a time your designated driver to pick you up. Call a family member. No matter what, never make the wrong choice and get behind the wheel.
Do Canadians still have some misperceptions about the seriousness of driving after consuming alcohol or marijuana?
Definitely. Some people don't actually ever think it'll happen to them. Being pulled over by the police and charged with impaired driving is happening. But it would be so much worse if you choose to drive while impaired and cause a crash that may kill you or someone else.
Now, despite all the information that's out there, do you feel that we as Canadians do know better, but once we're under the influence of some kind of substance, we just don't make the right choices?
Oh, definitely, 100%. Yeah. We can plan to go out and have a good time, and don't think we are too impaired or too drunk or whatnot, but One too many drinks can cause an impaired thinking and cause you to think you're not too impaired to drive.
So overall, how are we doing in Canada? Have impaired driving incidents decreased, or are we improving in any way?
We are definitely seeing some improvements. Lower blood alcohol, changes to the penalty system are just a couple of changes over the past few years, but we are always working on more improvements to make our roads safer. You can check out our MADD Canada website to see more on what we're trying to do.
And one of the ways you're trying to get the message across is Project Red Ribbon. Can you just tell us what it is and how people can participate?
The Project Red Ribbon is our annual awareness campaign to promote sober driving during the holiday season. It's the highest time of most social events, and the risk for impaired driving is extremely high. MADD's Red Ribbon is a card decal of the wearer's commitment to drive impaired, to never ever drive impaired. And it helps the sober driving message top of mind to all to see it. From November 1st to January 6th, MADD Canada and chapters across the country will be distributing thousands of red ribbons and card decals for Canadians to display on their vehicles, keychains, purses, briefcase, and pack sacks.
And I understand that MADD Canada now has a school program to educate young people on the dangers of impaired driving. Can you tell us a little bit more about that?
We do. Any school in Canada can actually contact our national office, and they would be happy to share with them how to get this program active in their school. But with a local level here in Lethbridge, our chapter has a presentation, and it's 100% free. Our volunteers can come into your school and present in a way that appeals to the youth about the dangers of impaired driving. We use impairment goggles to demonstrate on how being impaired affects one's ability to drive, to function with this obstacle course. We also share stories of loss, injury, and work with school counselors to give an impactful statement.
And if someone has a friend or a relative or even a neighbor who you know is about to drive while impaired, what should they do? Like, how do you handle that situation?
Please call 911. Give as much as detail as you can about the vehicle, direction they're heading, and who they are. By providing this much information, as much as information to 911 as you can, you have done your best to stop a crash. That call will save a life.
It's interesting that you brought up 911 because we're told that 911 is only for life-threatening emergencies, but this could be perceived as a potential life-threatening emergency. I know when I was driving around Lethbridge, I saw someone driving very erratically. Wasn't sure if they were impaired, but it sure looked like they were. I dialed 911 and it was dealt with. So maybe just stress the importance of dialing 911, even though maybe it's not a life-threatening situation there, but it could be, and has the high potential of being a life-threatening situation.
Definitely, 100%. And thank you so much for calling the 911 and reporting that, because you could have definitely just have saved a life. So thank you.
And every holiday season, there are a lot of parties. If you do end up at a party with alcohol, can you remind viewers about planning ahead just to prevent that impaired driving and those 911 calls?
Yes, a good host or company should provide a safe ride home. Have a number for a taxi service handy. Designate someone to come pick you up. No one wants that knock at the door at 3 a.m. saying a loved one has been killed or injured.
And we should probably remind folks that there will be, of course, check stops happening throughout the holiday season. And there's some serious consequences if you test positive for impaired driving. And MADD Canada is also involved with some of these check stops. So why don't you talk about that and some of the consequences that impaired drivers can face?
Yeah, the one thing at MADD, we would appreciate if to not take posts or videos of where the check stops are. It is important to get impaired drivers off the road before they cause a crash. Think about it. What are you willing to lose if you drive impaired? You can lose your license, you can lose your vehicle, you can lose both. You may lose your job, your income, your life. Again, plan ahead, please, and make the right choice to not drive impaired. It really is that simple.
And there's also technology now where devices are readily available to self-test your own blood alcohol level. I've seen them in Costco, I've seen them online on Amazon and even Temu. Any thoughts on whether this is advisable and helpful or not?
If you need to rely on a device to self-test your ability to drive, should you maybe think again and call a cab? You are putting your life and others at risk. You may not have had too much to consume. Do not depend on a device. Depend on yourself to make a better decision, and do not drive.
And is MADD Canada still in the need of volunteers? And if so, how would one get involved?
Yes, we are definitely in need of volunteers. We have so many different opportunities. We would love to hear from you. You can go to our website at www.maddchapters.ca/Lethbridge and fill out a volunteer application form. And we look forward to hearing from you.
And for those that are willing to get or wanting to get involved with MADD, maybe you could also share some success stories of what MADD Canada has done, even specifically in Lethbridge. And do you have any success stories that you would like to share?
Just a lot of people will come to me even and saying that they've lost a loved one from impaired driving, and how MADD Lethbridge has supported them through their worst time of their lives.
That's great to hear. Elizabeth Isfeld is the chapter secretary of the Lethbridge and area branch of Mothers Against Drunk Driving. Elizabeth, thanks so much for being with us today.
Thank you for having me, and Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, and please drive safe.
You as well. Merry Christmas, Happy New Year. I'm Naveen Day on behalf of all of us here at Bridge City News. Thanks for watching.